the only thing that people now can tear up of the Cybertruck is actually the range is a big thing that people are still complaining about. And the other thing that I've heard is, of course, the price. And you've mentioned the price already, and you've nailed it absolutely with your price predictions, Brian. So here's again the price of the rear wheel model that's going to be produced in 2025 or available in 2025. Actually, how do you feel about the price? I mean, we had inflation, guys. Remember that as well. So inflation is around, I would say, 10K or something. You could add on to that the initial price of the Cybertruck before. So
fine, I feel fine about it for a few reasons. The number I saw was something like the 40,000 would actually be 48,000 now. I don't know if that sounds about right. But also, when the Cybertruck was unveiled, it was abundantly clear to buyers that the $7,500 credit would not exist when the Cybertruck hit the roads, because it was already in phase out. So it was clear that the truck would never have the 7,500. So right there, you can take 7,500 off. You're down to 52,000, and the gap between inflation and 52,000 is only $4,000. That's a 10% difference. That's a hell of a deal. Now, the all-wheel drive was supposed to be, wasn't it, 50,000 basically, and 50 to 80 is a bigger stretch. Even 50 to 72,000 is a bigger stretch. Inflation closes it a bit, but again, this is the first day of the first deliveries. It will come down in price, but there is no reason to go for low margins when you have 2 million orders waiting.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, one thing that people always misconcept with Tesla doesn't sell cars without a profit. That's what you've said time and time again, and also here on the show already. So Tesla will take profits of everything they're going to produce, and that's what they will always do. And you've also said this many times also here in this episode. I want to repeat that because I think it's so important that when the Model 3 was released, it was expensive, and then the money or the cost trickled down when they reached the production rate they needed to actually get the costs down, the COGS down.
And we see that still. The base model, Model 3, is below 35,000 adjusted for inflation before you consider the added rebate available and other local costs available, and before you consider the fact that the base Model 3 doesn't exist anymore. Not the 35,000 they promised. This is a much nicer car. This has the premium sound that they've gotten rid of anything except premium sound. The SR Plus has more range than the SR was intended to originally. It's a better car for less money than people were expecting. And that is among the reasons they're selling like hotcakes. I would add that I have a Hertz Model 3 rental car for the week, and I have never driven a Model 3. It is the same as a Model Y, but lighter and smaller, and it's fun. It's a lot punchier. It feels like an electric go-kart on rails. It is a more fun car than the Model Y. Model Y is still a very fun car. The Model Y feels more like I expect a car to feel, and this feels like a toy. It's wonderful.
Now getting back to the Cybertruck, because the specs are now out, we know everything. You've already seen that time and time again. Also, I mean, the audience here in that case. And yeah, it is kind of expected more or less. Okay, we have this range issue, but how do you view that you can add actually a battery pack to the car to extend the battery life? How do you view that they're gonna provide this function? Because now we have 340 miles of range with the all-wheel drive, and the Cyber Beast has 320 miles range. So a little bit less, but it's more sportier in that sense. Yeah.
Sure. So how do I feel about that? Great. I think very few people will opt to buy that because very few people need it. I think the only people who will buy it are people who have very special use cases. And I'd say one of the biggest benefits to it is that battery pack is probably going to be significantly cheaper than power walls of comparable capacity. And if you are using this for vehicle to cabin, vehicle, if you have a cabin, get rid of your generator. When you drive up on Friday, plug it into the truck, and you've got all the juice you need for the weekend, and then go home on Sunday. For that application, it's perfect. But I think we're going to see great reviews and very low adoption because it's a lot of money for something you generally don't need.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And now comparing also the specs here for 1 second again, is that cargo volume of 120.9 cubic feet. That's about 3,400 liters. Then the wheel size is 20 inches. The seating capacity seats 5 adults. That's nothing special, but we have any interesting things with the display because we have a 18.5-inch display in the front. And on the rear, 9.4 rear touchscreen that we've seen. The ground clearance is actually pretty insane. It's 17.44. But I don't want to go into all the details. When we've seen the Cybertruck on the road, we didn't really see in the back seat, more or less. And how do you view the center back screen there?
The back screen, it looks fine. It looks just like I would expect it to based on what we've seen with the Model 3 and the Models S and X, the refresh on all three of those. The big news in the back seat is, I don't know if you know this, but the part that you sit on can fold up so that you have huge climate-controlled cargo space behind you. And
that's crazy.
Unlike some trucks where those folding seats, a lot of times when they fold, they're desperately uncomfortable. These are real proper seats that you can flip up, and now you've got a vast amount of cargo space behind you. You could put a little bed in there sideways and take a nap.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, the Cybertruck has many features that wasn't unveiled, but of course the big news here was that, okay, if you have a threat of a shooting over there, of course you cannot show off the car and everything. You have to be pretty fast actually to get the event rolling. But I assume that they could have shown stuff like this as well, or even go more into detail. The presentation probably was pretty much cut, but yeah, it's pretty cool that the Cybertruck finally is out and has these great features that we've seen. The range extender, I think, also is so interesting because it's not fixed. You can take it out and in, and if you have a longer trip, you can just put it in. That's what I've heard so far, but I'm not sure if that's confirmed.
I'd be concerned that the weight would be pretty outrageous.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So one thing I wanted to get into now, because of course we've seen a very fun video here where the Cybertruck raced against the Porsche 911. We've seen that in the presentation as well. So this thing is crazy fast. The speed is crazy fast. You can see that clearly here. We also seen some beautiful reviews of also they did a lot of racing tests as well. But yeah, it's funny to see that Porsche 911 is pulled, of course. And we've seen the quarter mile is in below 11 seconds and 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. And that's, of course, the Cyber Beast. So here's also another camera angle, which is very special to see how ridiculous it actually looks like. So absolutely beautifully done here from the Tesla team. I have to applaud them there.
So
how do you see it?
On those videos, people were saying it's a gimmick. Nobody who needs a work truck needs to go that fast. And what they're forgetting is the amazing acceleration isn't the point of the truck. It's a byproduct of making an amazing truck. Well, bulletproof, who needs that? Bulletproof isn't the point of the truck. It's the byproduct of the structural design. A lot of these things that we see, the ability to power a cabin for 4 days, 5 days, who needs that? It's not the point of the truck. It's a byproduct of building something that can do all these things, accidentally gets a whole bunch of other benefits that just kind of showed up.
Yeah, and these features that they offer, like you've also said that with powering your home, vehicle to load, that you can power your home with that, and this also is such an interesting concept that really is a game changer here. And like you said, all these features are just the side note, more or less, of this good car, because do they actually have any competition anymore? I mean, in the truck field, people are complaining about the range all the time. They point this out so much, and I get it. I also was a little underwhelmed by the presentation, but now thinking about, okay, if there's a shootout, maybe how about we don't extend this presentation, and people will gather information anyways. I mean, the traffic on the website was crazy.
There was a gentleman on X this morning who decided to have a debate with me and James Stevenson, which is never a good idea to do. But he was saying that I need to load up my entire family and tow a horse trailer and fill the entire bed. There's no room for the range extender battery, so it won't work for me. And I was like, buddy, that is the most extreme use case. I owned a truck for years. I never once road tripped, towed, or had 5 people in it. It didn't hold 5 people; it held 3. But I never once did any of those things. It was for around town use, hauling heavy, big, bulky stuff. And I mean, what are you talking about? This is crazy talk. And if you want it to be an everything for everyone all the time truck, you're going to have to wait a few years. Those vehicles are coming, but they're not here yet, and they don't need to be. I don't want an everything truck. And the use case he's describing, I'm just going to tell you, even his, well, we got to fill the entire bed and fill the buddy, what do you do? Well, you don't know people in middle America, you people on the coast, right? Because I've never met a person.
Yeah. Absolutely, it's ridiculous, because if you drum on the range all the time, people also wrote me like, oh, but the range, or out of my friends circle as well, but the range is as advertised. But yeah, we have a range extender. I can think of many ways you can still use this truck. The charging speed is ridiculous. It's 250 plus kilowatt hours, they say, but it's plus, and actually it is confirmed, or Lars actually digged into it a little bit deeper. It's 350 actually. So it's depending on with the V4 supercharger, it works. It's ridiculous how fast the charging is.